Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you all, wherever you might be watching this on this extremely wonderful planet we live on. Today I want to talk a little bit about experience I've had recently that has hugely given me a lot of insight that's, just been fantastic, and I want to share it with you. It is people, and we all know that over the last 5 or 6 years, when I've always said I've never had an allergy, and I realise I do, and allergy is stupid, and I'm seeing my allergies starting to raise their ugly head more and more in the last couple of months. It's quite serious now. My stupid allergy is going absolutely ballistic. There are more and more stupid people in this world, and more people who think that they're smart. And the simple fact is, well, just because I think they are doesn't mean that they are. So I've always used, before I go any further than this, do that smash thing, thing on the bottom, like, subscribe, because, any more than 2 subscribers would be awesome. And that's my wife and myself, by the way. I know there's some of you out there who subscribe, but those of you who subscribe don't put your notifications on. So when I do these, you never get notified of the joy of listening to me dribble, rabble on. You know what I mean. Anywho, so let's do the smash and like and share and subscribe and have other people enjoy it. Anyway, I keep repeating myself in these podcasts because I think they just seem to be really relevant today, and they just keep cycling. And when they keep cycling, they come around more frequently. The more I believe that we're losing it in our society. Keeps coming to me, the stupidity and the illogical things that people say and do. That's just, anyway. So for years and years and years, I've been saying in my martial arts school, and this is one of the repeated things, guys, you'll probably hear this again over and over in the coming months or years, that you are confident or you are not. There's no other level of grey matter between. Now, psychologists will suggest that you can almost be confident and you're striving to be confident. You go, girl, or you go, boy, and you can be there one day if you just look in the mirror every day and say, I'm confident. And the fact is, the only people who say that are extremely insecure, and they will never be confident. It's by saying that it's going to do absolutely nothing for them. So you're confident or you're not. Now, there's a view out there, and I don't know the term for it, but, look up it. This is my opinion only, that a lot of people call mistake confidence for arrogance. And in my world, I've never met an arrogant, confident person. Now, I think the term loosely put into my words is an arrogant person has a value that exceeds their true worth, something like that. So they put themselves forward, or they have a greater expectation of their own value than what they really have or what they really are. I don't know if that's right, but that's not confidence. That's, again, an insecure person wanting and pretending to be confident. So insecure people see confident people as arrogant. Arrogant people see confident people as arrogant. Confident people see insecure people as insecure, and confident people see arrogant people as insecure. So to a confident person, if you're not confident, you're just insecure. No judgment from a confident person at all. Judgment comes from insecurity and arrogance. Confident people, they don't judge. Confident people are just confident. They live their life in a confident mindset, more than happy to help and be supportive to almost anybody in the world, not want for anything in return. There's confidence there. Insecure person / arrogant will do things so that they can be seen and recognised, to have everyone see their own worth and that they can move forward, and then everything will go from there. A fully insecure person doesn't do anything. Will just sit there in its own little shadow and do absolutely nothing. So it can't even achieve any of that. So where do you slot? Now, if you ask yourself the question and you automatically say, oh God, I'm confident, then there's a reasonably good chance that you're insecure. Because a confident person will go, I actually don't know. I'll actually have to look into that. So if your instant answer to that question, where do you slot in that category, was, oh, by God, I'm confident, well, then you're not. You're just insecure. Which takes me to where this is coming into today's rabbit is the two words I'm using. I'm going to use a little bit I probably won't use them again. Like you never know. I've probably used them in the past. But the idea of using these now, I'm just going to toggle between this because the camera just flickered and, that scared me because this is my third take at this today. Anyway, the words I'm going to look at today are narcissist, sociopath, and psychopath. Now, I don't want you to take them into that term of the complete and utter negative of those words, and everybody does it. As soon as you use the word narcissist, our minds straight away go to that complete and utter negative of that word. Like manipulate. Everyone says manipulation is a negative and a bad thing. Rephrase that. Most people say that manipulation is a negative and a bad thing. But as a parent, you manipulate your children. As a spouse, you manipulate your other spouse a lot of the time. You have to. You manipulate your friends to get something done. You manipulate your work colleagues. That's all okay. There's nothing wrong with that. When you manipulate for personal gain without caring of consequence to the others, that's when it becomes nasty. And that's where these things that I'm going to talk about today are. So everybody is a little bit narcissistic. Everybody at some point will have sociopathic tendencies. And there is some stage in your life that you'll be, if not seen by others, but by yourself as being a little sociopath. Right? So, not sociopath, psychopath. So again, that doesn't mean you're going to go out and kill a bird or rip the head off a lizard or whatever. You don't have to be that end of psychopath to be there. We all know the new buzz condition for this century is being autistic, and everyone's on the spectrum. Like everybody's on the spectrum. So to say I'm autistic is actually saying absolutely nothing at all. So to say that you're a narcissist is to say, well, yes, like I am sometimes. I can be sociopathic and I can be psychopathic. Maybe. I don't know that I can identify where I've been, but I'm sure I have been. Maybe. I'm going to look into it. If I find out that I've been psychopathic at some stage in my life, I'll well and truly let you guys know. And my wife. Actually, she'll probably tell you I am. Yep, let's not go there. Anyway, so the first one I want to look at is a narcissist. So recently I thought people, one maybe in particular was a sociopathic narcissist, and seemed to my mind to use the buzzwords without truly knowing what the meaning was. I did have a look and never really absorbed it, but now I'm sort of having another look at it. So I'll just read this out. It's on Google, just there, I'm reading it. A narcissist is someone who exhibits an extreme preoccupation with themselves, an excessive need for admiration, and a fundamental lack of empathy for others. Now that word to me is, I don't support the word empathy. I don't believe it is absolutely at all possible. Now, again, if you say you're empathetic, there's a reasonably good chance you're not. You just want to be. Because to be empathetic, I believe, is you have to fully feel what the person is feeling. And no one can do that. Because no one can step into the other person's shoes and live that experience through their body. Can't do it. There may be a very rare mental or special condition where someone has that frequency level that can go into someone's mind and then can live that experience. But that would be, I don't know, I'll probably exaggerate a little bit, maybe 1 in 8 billion people. Right? Okay, let's make it a little bit realistic. Maybe 1 in, 200 million. I just don't know or see that as being ever so real. I think people relate from their own experiences on how they feel to how they project their feeling onto another person going through a similar experience, and they call that empathetic. It just isn't. So in this example of a narcissist who has a fundamental lack of empathy for others, I don't think it's empathy. I think it's feeling. they have a fundamental lack of feeling for others. I think that's more real to what I believe a narcissist is. So the core traits and behaviours of a narcissist are a grandiose sense of self-importance, inflated ego, and an unshakable belief that they are superior, or more so not superior, because I don't like that word, but they think they're special. They're more special than others. And that's a absolutely core trait of being a narcissist. The lack of feeling, I've changed the word. Right? I'm just reiterating that for me. This says empathy. When you look it up, it says empathy, but the word is not empathy, it's feeling. And they really feel entitled. And that is the core tenets or traits and behaviours of a narcissist, along with taking advantage of other people without shame or guilt. So they want something achieved. They don't care so long as they get that. They don't care where they go to achieve that. And that's fundamentally a narcissist. So I've identified a few more narcissists in my life using this as a guideline. Now, I'm not judging them for being narcissists, because I've been a narcissist. I probably still am to a degree. But these are actually physically doing all these traits, knowingly, at the same time criticising others for being narcissists. So you go, no, you just put yourself into that category of being a full-on narcissist, and you don't even want to be associated with any other side of that. So now to use those words where I've associated a particular being with sociopathic narcissist is using the word sociopath. And I looked at it again. I just looked at it through fog vision, not rose-coloured glasses, through foggy glasses. So I never really looked at it properly. So I looked at it again today properly and got a different understanding of it, which, guys, is why you need to reread things over and over again, because every time you do, you get something better, something more from the text. So again, a sociopath relates to that thing about being a narcissist, a lack of feeling. It uses empathy. I'm going to keep saying that, but I believe it's not empathy, it's feeling. The difficulty understanding or sharing the emotional experiences of others. So they can do something and don't really care of the consequence. So they just don't. They don't understand. They don't get that their reaction can cause this. They don't understand it. So, and they just do it. And they don't really get it. They like to think they get it, then they don't understand why they do. So, they manipulate, which goes back to being a narcissist. They're impulsive, which is probably where the sociopath tendency comes in, that they'll just not plan anything, as it says here, and they'll not learn from the mistakes they made in the past. So they'll just keep doing the same thing over and over and over, and they'll act with such impulse that they just, bah! And they go, well, why are you so upset? It's like, this has never happened before, or it's happened like countless times. So they don't get that. And they don't have guilt. The core underlying thing is the lack of guilt, and they don't feel remorse for their actions. And it says here about causing harm or breaking rules. And there's the rules everywhere. Everyone has them. The government has them. Police have them. You have them. I have them. We have them for our children. The children have them for their parents. The rules are just set in place. Whether they're valid and real rules, and I'll retract something. Now, I don't think children have the right to have rules for their parents. I think parents have the right to have rules for their children, because, if it wasn't for the parents, there wouldn't be the children. That's a given. But parents don't need the children. Well, in saying that, kids don't really need their parents either. Anyway, I'm moving on. I'm digressing. So the lack of guilt, that's all sociopathy. So where I thought someone was an innocent in a dynamic, I now see them as a narcissistic sociopath, using this criteria. So where one I thought was a narcissistic sociopath, I now think is a narcissistic psychopath. Now, again, not the negative end, not the completely opposite negative end of that, just the clinical side of it, which says this is a sociopath versus a psychopath. Sociopaths are often considered more impulsive, reactive, and heavily shaped by their environmental factors such as childhood traumas and abuse. Emotional, physical abuse, for sure. Childhood traumas, absolutely, without doubt, can bring on psychopathy. No, sociopath. So being a sociopath. For being a psychopath, the psychopathy of it is more, they're colder, they're more calculated in their behaviour. Like they'll do something knowing that it's going to hurt someone. Whereas the words are confusing me. The sociopath just does it, but doesn't understand that it's doing it. Whereas a psychopath does it knowing that it's going to hurt. But they don't have remorse either. They have absolutely zero guilt. But that's, according to this, it's more behavioural, biological, or it's a genetic marker that does it. So you'll often hear a psychopath's parents say, they can't help it, they've always been like that, and that's just the way they are. And that means that person has shown this behaviour their whole life, where the parent of that person could have done something much, much earlier on. They've just shrugged their shoulders of it and said, that's just the way they are. That is a form of child abuse, and it's too late now for that psychopath, of course, and it's too late for that parent because they've already raised their children. But they shouldn't be around any other child because they can't see these basic flaws. And as a parent, it's your job to recognise those flaws in your children and either address it with them or protect yourself from that. Now, if you can address it when they're a child, all the better. But you can't address it to them when they're an adult because they're individual. They have grown. They are their own individual person. So they no longer fall under your purview of responsibility, for want of another word. They are responsible to and for themselves alone. So with that all being said, there's no problem for a person in experiencing this type of relationship to look at it outside of it and go, that was a little bit weird. That was a little out of the norm. But then to look back and you go, well, no, it was done then, and they did it there too, and they did it with that person. No, so it is actually the normal for that person to react that way, where you look at it and go from your clouded vision of it, go, no, they wouldn't do that to me, that's arrogance, isn't it? Right? That's arrogance right there. They wouldn't dare do that to me, which is just such an indication of their lack of awareness that you have with that person. People can do anything to you at any given time. What you've got to do is be mindful of that all of the time. You go into discussion always with an open heart, always with an open mind. But as soon as the attacks come, you put up your defences. You must do that. If the attacks keep coming, then the only thing for you to do is to retreat. If the attacks still come through loud words, through physical action, or through silence, your only action is to detach. And that is not self-preservation. That is allowing that other person the chance to get it right for themselves without you butting in and giving them a hand. So, and just leave it to the hand, leave it to the fate, excuse me, of all the powers to be. I'll just have a quick sip of my cordial. I'm alcohol free, but I've changed it over for orange cordial, because I don't know which is better. I don't miss the alcohol. Anyway, another subject for another day. So just going back over that again, you look at any interaction that doesn't come out favourably from an outsider's perspective, not from you as the emotional being living it, or from the other person because you can't be their emotional being living it, and observe it from as an outsider's perspective, and you'll go, yeah, I could have done that different, or they could have done that different, or no, I pretty much was okay with most of that. Yes, I defended myself, and then I'm allowed to do that. Or, no, I overstepped my bounds there, and I probably shouldn't have done that. So, whichever that category is, if you were the one who defended yourself, there is zero obligation for you to apologise, like absolutely zero obligation. If you are the one who was the attacker, then all the obligation on apologies is yours. 100%. There's no reason why the person you attacked has any right or any need to apologise. In a dynamic where there are multiple people involved in that attack, not multiple people engaged in the dynamic, but one person is the person being attacked, then the person who has been doing the attacking needs to apologise to everybody in the group that was involved in that whole scenario. That's the only way you're going to move on. Only way it's ever going to happen. You just keep repeating it. And you'll maintain your narcissistic sociopathic state. Sociopath. Sociopath. And that's fine, because we all are. Again, I'm going to keep saying it. I'm not saying that is necessarily a bad thing. I'm just saying be aware of that that's possibly what is real and not you can't be possibly that, because that goes back to being awake and thinking you're awake when you're really just ignorant. So if you're ignorant, you don't realise that you could be a narcissist or a sociopath. Yeah, that's ignorance. That's not being awake, because awake people, they sort of get it. Maybe. I'm not saying that I'm awake, because I have no idea what it means. Anyway, so just to understand, I think I will tell you again. I had my dad and mum separated when I was 17, finally, for the second time. Dad met a woman, got married in late when I was 21, maybe 20, 21. And for 14 years, I gave her nothing but a hard time. Didn't like her, disrespected her. All the things that you could possibly do to a step-parent, I did, and felt pretty bad for doing it at a point in my life. Not when I was doing it, because I was ignorant. There's that word. There's that I'm entitled, I can do this because I'm the real son. She's not my mother. Real prick. Saying that, my brother was not as bad and my sister was probably worse. I don't know. I'm not her, so I don't know her experience. Anyway, mine was that I was a prick. I was mowing the lawn one day and had an awakening. No, I just realised something that was really shitty, and that was my behaviour for 14 years, 15, 16 years. I don't even remember. I know that my mum had passed many years before, and I just had an awakening. And I went to the phone, I rang, and Bridie answered the phone. I said, hello, Bridie, it's David. And she said, I'll get your father. I said, no, I actually want to speak to you, but can you put Dad on the other line? And she was in a bit of shock. And then Dad was on the line. I said, hi, Dad. And Bridie, are you there? She said, yes, I'm here. I said, I just want to say, I just want to apologise. I just want to say I'm sorry for everything I've done to you and what would appear against you since you met Dad and came into our life. I really want to tell you that I am just extremely grateful to you and honoured that you are caring for my father and you're looking after him as he's getting older, and maybe until the day he dies, you'll be the one there for him. And I deeply regret the things I said to you, and hung up and went back to finish mowing the lawn. And I never asked for anything. I never wanted her to acknowledge the apology. It was never asked of, and it was never received. She never offered it. But the next time I rang, she answered the phone and she didn't say, I'll get your father. She said, oh, how are you? What have you been up to? And we had a conversation before. She said, I better get your dad. Right? So everything changed, like everything changed. I really liked the woman. I actually loved her for what she did for Dad for years and years. I called her mum and my mother towards the end of her life. When Dad was passing, just to help him through the transition of him passing, I said to him, Dad, I'll look after her. I'll care for her until she passes. I promise. And I did. I kept that promise to my dad, to my dying father. And I swear within 30 seconds of me saying that, he actually let go and he died. So I had to honour that. And I did it with nothing but pleasure. She was a really, really nice person. Had some interesting stories to tell when you treated her like an adult with a little bit of respect. And that letting go was worth so much more. And that peace of mind I got from doing that was worth so much more than her saying, thank you for the apology. I didn't need it. I was so joyous by that experience that it put me in a different place in my mind and my state of being. So if you're ever in that position where you know you've done wrong by someone, you just know you have, the only way to get any sense of relief from that is by openly, with a complete open heart and mind, apologising with no want of anything in return. That's it. And the relief you will have is just unbelievable. I can't put words on that relief. It's absolutely fantastic. So, with all that being said, make amends, guys. Go out, and if you have done bad by someone and you actually know you have, and your pride is not allowing you to do something, do something. Don't let that go to your deathbed or theirs, because that's toxic. That's the sort of thing that will create a path to your deathbed that much faster. If you've been wronged by someone, have absolutely no regret in letting go and detaching, totally letting go, because that in itself is a relief from you feeling like you're wanting that person to come back and meet you and say sorry, because that's not what it's about. This journey of reconciliation or non-reconciliation is not the doer's, it's not the receiver's fault or the receiver's problem, it's the doer's responsibility to do something about. So the receiver can either stand back and be whipped and psychologically abuse themselves by sitting there every night and hoping this person is going to contact them, or let go and have peace in letting go. Because once you've done that, that is the same peace in apologising. It is just blissful. So understanding that Mother Nature is absolutely wonderful and beautiful, and we praise Mother Nature. She is equally terrifying and violent and destructive. We know from the New and the Old Testament that the God of man, the God of the Bible and the Quran, or that stupid one, which I'm not even going to mention, is absolutely vicious and vengeful and jealous and loving and peaceful. So if our deities, whichever one you choose to follow, can be violent and be peaceful and be beautiful and can be dangerous, then, guys, you can be too. If you are one of those philosophies that believes in always letting go and turning the other cheek and being peaceful all the time and loving, which is why I don't say peace, love and mundings anymore, by the way, that's too hippie feral, that's flatline. That's just this. That's death. You can't always be happy. That's impossible. You can't always turn the other cheek. That's impossible too. You can't always be angry, because it will kill you. The anger, the emotion, the feelings that come with that are destructive emotions, feelings. They will make you sick. You will be dead. So being angry all the time, being worried all the time, being all of these things all of the time is flatlining. That's being dead. Being happy all the time. Well, it's not even there. It's on the same line. That the circle of life goes round and round. Happy as this and always happy as there, always miserable as there. They're like side by side. They're not anywhere down here where you need to be. Understanding that sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're sad. Sometimes you're really generous and sometimes you're selfish. Sometimes you're grateful, sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're helpful, sometimes you're a prick. Like, that's just the way it is. And not be upset with you being helpful all the time or you being an a-hole some of the time. So just bear that in mind. And on a later date, we'll talk about something else I've been going on about along those deity things. Another revelation. Anyway, I'm done. I would really like you to consider what I've spoken about, and if you would like to whatever that is, comment on it, please do, because I'd like to have conversation with someone who can either push against that and convince me that I'm wrong, because I'd really love someone to do that. And if you have a similar mindset, then go, yeah, thumbs up, or yeah, I support you because I get that too. And let's try and do the best we can for the only important person in our life, really, and that's ourselves. Everyone else is extremely close, and you can have those people close to you who are extremely close to you, but you have to be the most important person in your existence. And everyone else can come a really, really close. Someone will come a really, really close second, and then it just graduates down to a level, and then you stop, and you can't go any further, because that's not how the human being has been made, I believe. Anyway, at an end, just always remember this. And of course, always enjoy your journey. Just be good, really. That's all I want. Take the life, do with it as you can. The destination is guaranteed. You know that. It's how you're going to take the steps on this journey that's really important to you. And everything that keeps this wave going, that's where we are. Guys, remember, enjoy the journey and be good.